Hey guys, what is up? Shadowlands back with another Destiny video. Today I wanted to go over the thing that is on every Destiny player's minds right now. The new DLC, the new update, the thing everyone's been going ape shit over, and the things that we want to see, and I want to give a little bit of an in-depth detail about it. I'm not going to talk about what the update's about, because at this point I'm pretty sure most of you know what it's about. You've either seen videos from other YouTubers. I just want to do an analysis and what I think is good and bad about it, because I think there are definitely some great things about it, and some things that are not so great about it. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. I want to go over the stuff to do first, in order of what I think the importance is. First of all, the Prison of Elders. That is the big thing that got brought back. A lot of people were incredibly upset when Prison of Elders became completely irrelevant after the Taken King came out. Honestly, I was one of them, because the Prison of Elders I like more than the raid. The Prison of Elders is my favorite thing to do. Do I like what they've done with it? Actually, yes, although I have some upsides and downsides about it. The biggest thing is that I'm glad there are two different challenge modes that they came back with and not just one. I also like the fact that the new weapon drops, that the Prison of Elders weapons, the Lord of Wolves, the Queensbreaker Bow, and the Drag's Promise are now actual drops that you get just from completing it. In fact, I've already gotten two of them. I don't have the Queensbreaker's Bow yet, but I do have the Lord of Wolves and the Drag's Promise for year 2. Honestly, I'm also glad with the updates that they made to the way those weapons perform. I think they've been adjusted appropriately. Let's put it that way. Anyway, other than that, Prison of Elders is really, really nice. I'm glad to have it back. I'm really happy that they broke it up. Like I said, I believe the level 41 and the challenge currently, at least as of this week, is not too different from each other, aside from the actual stuff you have to do. In terms of difficulty, some people may even argue that the 41 level is more difficult, because even though you have the matchmaking with it, and a lot of people who don't have to worry about making parties like that can play it, so that everyone typically goes in as a group. You don't have the communication that you typically do, and also you have to complete those objectives where you can't say, oh, you go do this, and you go do this, because people just have to sort of know what they're doing. So people that are new to Prison of Elders, and were not here for the Taken King, prior to the Taken King, they may be struggling with this a bit, so having the matchmaking may not always be such a good thing. In fact, soloing it may be better to do sometimes. Now, the level 42 one, it's a little bit harder to do it since it's based on points, and getting that high score solo is going to be a very, very difficult task, along with having to kill the boss itself. They have very, very large amounts of health, and not having 3 people putting damage on the boss is going to be a lot more difficult. Overall, my consensus on the Prison of Elders is very, very happy it's back. It's possibly a little bit too easy, although I feel like that may change next week, especially with the level 42 one, given that we're going to be seeing new bosses that we didn't fight a million times this week. And second of all, we're not going to have the 2 great moons align where we have small arms, which makes it very, very easy for people who are even under-leveled. Even though they may take the same amount of damage, they're not going to be getting that amount of DPS out if they're below 320 light. So I think that's going to make a big difference next week. And secondarily, when we have small arms, so people use hand cannons and scout rifles a lot, along with the headshot for the increased points. I think that's going to be a lot harder to do in the future, where it may say like, oh, you have to get grenade kills or melee kills or something else. That's going to be quite a bit more difficult, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as easy in the coming weeks, and that we're going to actually have quite the challenge. So anyone who's disappointed by the challenge level this week, we will see quite the increase and hike up in skill level for next week. Now, moving on, I did want to spend a lot of time on Prison of Elders, but I want to quickly run through the rest of the stuff so that I can get on to the more interesting things. Court of Oryx, really briefly, just got to say, I like the update. We now have 330, up to 335 artifacts dropping there. I have been getting 327s, 328s, 329s very, very early on, even as low light level as 322. So it's very nice to see that you can get your artifacts up very, very quickly. You don't have to spend too much time grinding. And even the quests that you do, you can knock out in like a couple of different fights, especially if you're doing the tier 3 runes. Very, very easy to get that light level back up. They basically want you to just go play Court of Oryx for like a couple of hours, and then you don't need to worry about it again for a while unless you really just enjoy doing it. But you now get more worthwhile rewards, not to mention the blue weapons tend to drop at higher light now, so that's also more helpful for getting a lot of your lower level weapons that you've been neglecting in your vault up until now. Continuing, Strikes and Crucible playlist. Now, personally, I haven't put a lot of time into these yet, but my friends have been, and they've been reporting to me what they've been getting out of it. So far, it seems like we're getting the same number of drops, however, they tend to be in higher quality, which is honestly what I was expecting. We were already getting like a guaranteed 1 to 2 blue drops out of every single one that we played, and now it's more likely we're just getting better stuff out of it. So we're seeing a lot higher light level weapons drop. My friend that I've had the highest one reported to me is a 329 legendary that dropped for him, and I was very pleased to hear that, because it means that we're at least getting higher level items coming out of Crucible, and I'm really, really happy to hear that, because personally, when I'm not doing Prison of Elders, my favorite thing to do is just go play Crucible playlists. So if you're like me, and you really like just doing casual Crucible, this is going to be fantastic for you. Strikes, I would guess, are sort of the same thing right now, not to mention we have the 2 new strikes, and well, rather, the revamped old Archon pre-strike, and then the new one that was introduced, the Chalice, the Blighted Chalice, I believe is what it's called. Now, the raid. The raid, I can say firsthand after doing it a couple of times today that they definitely give higher drop items. Even the lowest level ones, the lowest level normal drops I was getting when playing the hard mode raid did not drop below 317. 317 was the absolute lowest drop that I got. The highest drops that I got were 330 and 331 respectively. I got a 331 ghost shell, and I also got a 331 cloak, which was also very, very nice. I was happy to have that. Now, for the two things that we've not yet to see and that we're sort of waiting on happening are the Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner. Iron Banner I have very high hopes for, especially now that they've removed legendary drops from the actual Iron Banner, and it's going to be strictly Iron Banner weapons and gear. I am super stoked to see that. Trials of Osiris, I quite frankly don't have a lot of hopes for, because I don't think it's going to change that much. Currently, I think for the first couple of weeks, while people are still frantically trying to get their light levels higher than everybody else, we may see some discrepancy among light level actually being a big factor in who actually wins the match, as opposed to later on down the line when everyone sort of gets their light level above 330, and it doesn't really matter so much. But right now, during this first week or two, we may be seeing people in Trials of Osiris coming in with your tryhards who have, or people who just have insane luck, coming in with 330 to 335 gear, fighting people who are barely touching 320 or just barely over it. So I think we're going to have some issues with that for the first couple of weeks, but it will sort itself out fairly quickly. Iron Banner, I think, is going to have the more impact as terms with as with what this DLC has brought to Iron Banner. Now, moving on, I want to quickly touch on the Eververse paid items. People have been bringing up the concept, is this game now pay to win? And quite frankly, I say no. It's really not, because there's nothing that you can get from Eververse that you can't get otherwise that is not aesthetic. So if you're looking at all those gear you can get from the Sterling cases, we're going to be getting 3 of those a week if you play the game even remotely consistently. As long as you play a couple times a week, you're almost guaranteed to get 3 of those. You just play the weekly Crucible, you get one for free from the Postmaster, although a lot of people were reporting not getting that this week, although a couple of my friends did report getting theirs, although it was not on the first character they logged in on. So if you have multiple characters and you've logged in on multiple characters, there's a chance it may have gone on to a different character and you just can't pick it up from the character you're currently on. So check your other characters if you've not gotten your free one for this week. That may fix it for you, although no promises. Anyway, continuing, not to mention you can also get it from the Prison of Elders, which I'm sure most of us will be grinding very hardcore for the first couple of weeks of release after this DLC. Quite frankly, I am super looking forward to this. I feel like getting 3 and the fact that you can get all 3 of them with one character as opposed to having to play across all 3 characters to get the maximum amount of Sterling cases, that is really nice. I'm happy to have that. I didn't like before where with the Nightfall, for example, you have to go and play it on 3 characters and you can't just play it on one character 3 times. Because quite frankly, I love my Hunter and Warlock. I am not a Titan person. I don't like Titans. I've never liked playing as Titans. I probably won't ever like playing as Titans, at least until the Phagomizers come out, and then I'll give that a shot. Unfortunately, we didn't see those come with this release, so I won't be having any Titan gameplay anytime soon. I'll be sticking with my Hunter and my Warlock. But that being said, back to what I was saying, I'm just glad that you can get all 3 Sterling cases per the week on just one character. That actually makes me very, very happy. It also makes it easier to grind one character to get high light level instead of having to split your time among 3, working to get 3 people to high light level, because the way I plan on doing this personally is get my Hunter to 330, then get my Warlock to 330, and then get my Titan to 330, and then go back and get my Hunter up to 335 and make the whole run again, getting everyone up to as high as possible. Now, moving on, things to earn. Faction item changes. I don't think everyone has picked up on this yet. Yes, they have the same gear and the same weapons. They have different roles on them now. Go look at every single vendor and check the weapon perks again. I very highly recommend you all go look at Future War Cult. I think that they've been neglected in the past, but now take a look at the hand cannon and the pulse rifle respectively. I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you guys, but I recommend you go take a look at those 2 weapons because I can see those becoming very, very nasty in Crucible and expect to see those weapons pop up a lot. So go check those out. Also make sure to check out the other factions as well. Quite frankly, I'm glad that the new 1,000-yard stare that they're selling is not quite as good anymore. I don't think it's going to be as useful in Crucible and definitely not as useful in PvE. You can see what I mean by going to check it out yourself. I'm just glad that we may be seeing a decline of 1,000-yard stare because quite frankly, it takes me back to the days when all anyone used was Thorn, Black Hammer, and then maybe some other kind of machine gun or rocket launcher with tripod plus grenades and horseshoes back in year 1. I got so sick of seeing that, and I'm currently glad just to have something else on the menu right now. I was tired of seeing 1,000-yard stares. Quite frankly, I'm a Glass Promontory guy or Raid Sniper Rifle guy. I really do like the Raid Sniper, the Defiance of Yasmin, and the Glass Promontory. I'm glad that I can now get those up high enough light that I can go ahead and use those a lot. But anyway, moving on. We also have the issue of getting to 335 too easily. Within 2 days of the DLC coming out, I'm already at 330 light. And a lot of my friends are at that level or a little bit higher. I don't think anyone's above 332 that I've seen on my friends list, but I've seen people up to 332 already, and that is a little bit nerve-wracking. The fact that we're already there 2 days into the DLC. Now, I recognize not everyone is going to have the tenacity to sit there and get there that fast, and that a lot of people it may take a week or two, but think about it. If it normally took us playing the raid when the Taken King came out until now, if it took us this long to get to 320, well, it's going to take us a lot less time to get everyone up to that level. People that maybe didn't get to 320 before, it may have taken them much more time to get to 320 if they were not like ravenous players like a lot of the top percentage of players are. However, if we're getting there in 2 days, it means they're probably going to be there in a couple of weeks, which means getting to level 335 is going to be very, very easy compared to getting to 320 was before. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's kind of an interesting idea. I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's good because it means everyone's going to be on fairly equal playing field for a while, and you're not going to be stuck behind a luck-based barrier. You can just sort of get your light level up, and everyone can sort of be on even playing fields in terms of that. It simply depends on how much time you put into the game and how fast you want to get there. I think it's reasonable to say everyone could be there within 3 weeks if they really played the game, maybe 2 to 3 days out of the week for a solid 2 hours at a time. They could make some serious progress like that, and that would be doable. However, some more ravenous players might make it within the first week, and I would expect to start seeing 335 people by the end of the weekend, especially after Trials of Osiris has come around, and if we happen to get an Iron Banner match soon, I believe we should have one coming up in the next couple of weeks, then it's going to really jump up because a lot of people will be playing Iron Banner and getting very high light level drops. Now, moving on from that, overall, I just want to say that the 335 stuff, there's upsides and downsides. The downside is people may lose interest very quickly if they get there, but I feel like with all the new gear that they've introduced and all the new roles that we have on a lot of new weapons that are for sale, I think we're going to be seeing more longevity and people just wanting to play the game this time around, as just when the Taken King came out where all we got was a new raid and a lot of other in-game content was not relevant anymore, especially since people were still pissed off, like I mentioned before, that Prison of Elders was no longer relevant. Anyway, moving on now, I wanted to talk about strike rewards, the new swords, and Iron Banner drops specifically. Strike rewards, I want to say that I'm really happy to see that we got a couple of new strike-specific rewards, not a lot of them. Actually, one of them is a mission. It's the one where you get the sword. You can directly buy a sword at 280 light from Varix if you have a heavy weapon engram this week. However, you can also get one for for completing the Blighted Chalice strike, I believe, and it is one of the rewards you get from doing that. Or either that or it's the Court of Oryx quest. I actually don't remember which one it was because I finished them both in the same gaming session, went back and picked up my rewards and forgot which was which. But it's one of those that gives you the sword, and you get it at 310 as opposed to 280. So if you're impatient and you would like to use it early, by all means go buy a 280 go buy a legendary engram from the Cryptarch, and then turn it in and get yourself a new sword, brand new. Anyway, that being said, the new sword I think is really, really awesome. And on top of that, we also have the new shotgun. It is the Taken shotgun. I believe you get it from the new Archon Priest Taken Strike. It is available in the Heroic playlist, so I recommend grinding that, because from what I've seen of the gameplay on that shotgun so far, it's pretty nasty. I'm looking forward to using it. It has the same model as the Dry Rot, which is personally my second favorite shotgun model after 2 to the Morgue, which is also very similar anyway. Now, as for the new sword, I want to say despite the fact that it is not an exotic sword that has an exotic perk, the fact that it has Will of Light on it, and I have tried using it in the Prison of Elders on the Hive Knight this week, that thing absolutely rips ass. I highly recommend you get that sword, get that thing leveled up, because it absolutely destroys in the raid and also does a lot of damage to Taken. I believe the Will of Light gives something like a 1.1 or 1.2 times damage bonus, and on top of the fact that you're higher light level now doing more damage to begin with, you're going to be absolutely dumping damage on things, and I highly recommend you guys give that a shot. Last thing I wanted to mention here for things to earn were these Sterling cases and Iron Banner drops. Iron Banner drops I mentioned a bit before, where we're going to start seeing, instead of having legendary engram drops, we're going to have more consistent Iron Banner weapon and gear drops, if not ghost and artifact drops. I'm interested in seeing what we can get out of that, although so far I believe most of the Iron Banner artifacts are all blue items. We don't have any legendary ones as of yet. I could be wrong. I haven't gotten any ones to drop for myself. I haven't been that lucky. I've gotten Radagast Blade a few times, but that is all I've been lucky enough to get for my Titan. Anyway, the Sterling cases. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes in here, and there's also the PS4 exclusive gear that I don't know how many of you are aware of. I believe that is the Varix gear that you can get. It for the Hunter, at least. I have not received any for my Warlock or for my Titan yet, but the Hunter, it is a blue set of gear called it's not the Watchers, I forget what it's called, the Warden's Boots, I believe, and also you have the Warden's Cloak. I have already gotten both of those. In fact, you will see me using them in this Prison of Elders strike. Not the cloak, but the boots themselves. Anyway, those are really interesting items. I'm looking forward to seeing what the entire set looks like. I'm interested in collecting those myself. I'm a collector. That's the way I play Destiny. But I'm interested in seeing where that goes. Sterling cases overall, I think they're a really fantastic addition to the game. It's an interesting way to still hold the RNG element, but have a way to get things more consistently where you're able to get them 3 times a week on the one character, as I was mentioning before. My overall consensus is that the game is really great right now. I think this DLC is what we've been waiting for a long time. It's going to fulfill a lot of really, really happy people. make a lot of people really, really happy. And it's just the fact that we have never had this much in-game content be relevant at any given time before. So the fact that you can do whatever you enjoy doing the most, whether that's Crucible, whether that's Vanguard Strikes, the Raid, playing Prison of Elders, which they've brought back, Trials of Osiris, no matter what you enjoy doing the most, you can do that to get to the highest light level. Almost everything exclusively can get you there, and I think that is absolutely amazing. They have both matchmaking things and they have non-matchmaking, so you could really customize your Destiny experience. And I feel like a lot of people that dropped out of Destiny because they got really bored of it too early are really missing out here. And if you're one of those people watching this video, I recommend giving Destiny another shot. I think this DLC might shock you a little bit, and I am quite happy to be the advocate for that. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance out.